Hey everyone, what's going on? And welcome to a special episode of the Geeksy Podcast. Super excited for our guest from the other side of the globe, Pestily. Very extremely dialed in, exploding Tarkov player on Twitch. Dynamic personality, a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on, man. How's it going?
It's really good. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
So I was starting the intro. I'm like, you know what? How would Pestily want me to introduce him? How? Give me your introduction for someone that have never heard of you before.
Geez. Pretty much. Do you want my YouTube catchphrase intro that everyone loves?
Whatever you want to do.
So pretty much like I'm a military background person. I was 8 years in the military, got out, and I've got into content creation and gaming. I used it as a bit of an escape when I quit the military to network with people. But what I would do at this point of the time, I say, let's crack straight into it.
That's exactly what we're going to crack straight in this interview. So you talk about your military experience. So Pestily's from Australia originally, right?
Correct.
What part of Australia? Yeah.
I grew up near Melbourne, but in the military, I lived all over Australia and finished up in Adelaide. So I'm down the south.
Okay, so just to give a little context to your background, in the U.S., if you join the military, more than likely it's a 4-year service. Is it similar in Australia, or how does it work there?
Yep, the contract is 4 years, but I stayed in for 8 for multiple reasons. I actually did enjoy most of my time in the military, but when you know, there's a point in your career where you're like, am I going to do this for the rest of my life, or do I want to do other things? And I was at that point, so I got out. What
branch or what division of the military were you in?
I was in the infantry, and the first question I always get is, did you spend any time in the Middle East? And I actually didn't. I spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia. I actually speak Indonesian as well, so I was doing a lot of translating and stuff over there.
Okay. So what made you enlist into the military?
I've always had I like pushing myself to limits. I've always been like I wanted to be a firefighter, but I actually lost my license to drink driving. And in Australia, if you lose your license to drink driving, you can't be a firefighter for 10 years. Like they just won't even look at you in the application process. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, if I can't be a firefighter, what would I like to do? I want to help people. So I joined the military, and I thought infantry would be the best place to push me to my limits. And yeah, 8 years later, I got out and I became a firefighter for a little bit. And then due to my wife's situation where her job was moving around, I couldn't stay as a firefighter. So took up streaming full time.
So you went from firefighter to military infantry to full-time streamer. Before you made the jump from streamer, though, when you talked about wanting to push yourself, what got pushed? I mean, it may sound like an obvious question, but internally, what got pushed for you in the military? Like, was it just, physically, mentally, like what did you take from that experience?
A lot of people join the military with all their different like dreams, ambitions. Some want to go on deployments and be all warry, and others like want to see the world and stuff. For me, I've always been one that's just like I used to be massively into fitness and bodybuilding and stuff like that early days, but like for me, like there's times where you have to stay out for days straight and you're working in small groups for long periods of time, and it's just, for me, it's a blast. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. And then there's the politics and all the other crap that you get sucked into, and promotions and postings, and that's when I was like, time to go.
Got it.
It's
so as my question. So there was the final kind of straw for you to say, hey, this isn't for me, or when you knew it wasn't for you, is when, was there a specific incident, without getting into too much detail? I don't know how much you can talk about your military experience, but
I wanted to be, I was going to push towards intelligence, and I wanted to work in, I wanted to learn Chinese. And there was a point where I put up a request to go study Chinese, and my boss pretty much said, you're not getting that. And I was just like, you know what? I could go learn Chinese in my own time and enjoy my life doing things how I want to do it without being told, no, you can't do that. So I quit.
Okay. So
it was a pretty hasty decision too. I was like, called up. I was actually in Malaysia at the time, and I called up my girlfriend at the time. I was just like, look, I've had enough. I'm out. And she's like, you sure? I'm like, this is it. This is time.
And then like,
she was like, shit, I gotta get a job.
Like then like a week later, are you gone? A month later, are you gone?
Nah, it's about 3 months.
Okay.
You have to give a few months notice.
So at that point, had you already fulfilled your obligation, your 4-year term? Okay. So
I was at 8 years.
Okay. Full 8 years. So you're on your way home to Australia, and on the plane or whatever, however you're getting back, are you like, what am I going to do next? Or what was your next step?
Well, after I got back from Malaysia, I had a few months, but and I planned to take some time off after I got out, but I actually got called up to do another translating gig in Indonesia, and I flew to Indonesia to translate and actually flew back to Australia as civilian. So that was a weird flight because like literally today I'm in a uniform, the next day like overseas, and the next day I'm back in Australia. And I was like, now what? You know, like I actually planned to take 3 months off and just go fishing and play computer games. 100%. That like that, I told my bosses were like, what are you going to do when you get out? I'm like, I'm going to play computer games and I'm going to go fishing. And they said two things. I'm jealous and you'll be re-enlisting. Like they were just convinced like you're going to get back in. If you're not working, you've got to survive. And I actually use that time period for me to just get back to being a normal person. The military world's a very different world. And it's really hard to explain without actually being in it. But for me, I was like, all right, I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to play computer games. I'm going to try and get involved in the community. Like, I don't know if you've got lawn bowls in America, but it's like this like big grass field and the elderly play. It's all people over the age of like 65. I joined the Night Owls lawn bowls on a Wednesday night, and I was just talking to veterans and just elderly people playing lawn. Those are younger ones, but mostly retirees. Yeah. And that's where you get the fishing tips, by the way, if anyone's listening. The elderly that go fishing all the time, they're retired, they know all the fishing tips. So like I'd talk to them, and then, it was just, I just had a 3-month period where I played computers, and I started streaming in that time, and that's where I started playing Tarkov.
Bro, before we jump into that, can you explain to someone who has no idea, what is lawn ball?
Lawn bowls, it's like a kind of slightly smaller than a 10-pin bowling ball. Okay. And when you bowl it, it has a heavy side, and that heavy side will slowly tilt it to the side, and you got to kind of get it closest to the jack, and the jack's like a white ball that sits at the other end of the field. Okay. And it's whoever gets it the closest wins.
Okay. So it sounds kind of like bocce ball if I had to.
Very similar to bocce, but you don't lob it in the air. It's all on the ground.
Oh, cool. All right. So it sounds like you're pretty self-aware coming off your enlistment and your gig. You're like, okay, hey, look, I want to do this. But it sounds like, I mean, if you're going to play computer games and go fishing, it sounds like there might have been an element of like, and correct me if I'm wrong, like not isolationism, but you spent a lot of time by yourself or, not connecting. So is that why you decided to do that with the Wednesday?
So yeah, you're pretty much on point there. So I was just over 30 years old when I got out, maybe just under 31. Mm-hmm. And all my friends are, married, kids, full-time work. And here I am playing computer games and fishing, living the retired life. And I couldn't find anyone to play computer games with during the day. And you're exactly right. I wanted to socialize. Like lawn bowls was my, face-to-face talking to people. And then I streamed to meet people and play computer games with. And I started a friendship group that way. And you're exactly right. Like it's kind of weird going from being with people every day in the military where they are your friends, like it or not. And you get out and then you've got no one around you. And my wife's job was out in the country. So I was like an hour and a half from the city in the middle. That's probably not far for most people, but an hour and a half out in the sticks. There was about 3,000 people in the town I was in.
So, okay. So you have this idea coming back and you're like, okay, I'm going to start playing PC games. And do you remember, did you find Twitch while you were in the military? When did you first hear about Twitch?
I think I heard about Twitch probably about a year before. Everyone kind of, when Shroud got big and PUBG got big, like PUBG and Shroud with Grims, I think it was, there was like this massive surge of Twitch popularity around that time. And I used to watch a few highlight videos of Shroud and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, or Grims, I think one of them got like a 34 kill game and it was just like, that's sick. And I've been playing computer games my entire life. So it's not just like, it's just my first time playing was after the military. I'd been playing my whole life. But
what did you grow up playing, or what do you remember your first
Half-Life?
Okay.
Half-Life was my bread and butter. Like,
was that your
definitely? I could still jump.
Was that your introduction to PC games? Like, how did you first?
Pretty much. Like, that was the first game I dove into hard. Like, I'm confident I was in top 10 in Australia. We had a LAN in Australia where we had the best people in Australia playing Half-Life and met all the people that were the best. It was awesome. At that, I was on like 15, 16 years old, maybe even younger. But it was just, and then that's when the birth of Counter-Strike happened back 1.4, 1.6 days. Counter-Strike got massive, and I got into World of Warcraft instead of Counter-Strike.
Okay.
And so I played WoW unhealthy amount, and then I joined the military, so I missed out on really getting into the competitive side of CS.
If you're willing to reveal it, do you remember what your slash played was in World of Warcraft?
About 160, 170 days.
Okay, so
it's a lot.
It's a lot of time, but
that's on my main. That's on my main druid. I don't know about the other accounts.
All right, so you're coming back. So you're aware of Twitch. You've watched some highlight clips on YouTube, and then you're like, okay, I have some time off. I know I'm taking 3 months off. What made you spark and be like, hey, I'm going to start a Twitch channel?
Pretty much the social aspect. That was me. I had no ambition to make money. I'm doing a trip to Europe next year, which I've been planning for years, and I'll be living in Europe for the whole year, climbing mountains and stuff.
So
and I was like, sorry. So I thought it'd be a good idea if I could build up a little bit of a following before I got to Europe. Like, I remember saying to my wife, it was my girlfriend at the time, like, how cool would it be if I got like 2,000 followers before I got to Europe, and there's 2,000 people that might be interested in me climbing mountains. That was what kind of started it. But I never took it serious in the initial days. It was purely a social aspect. I did that for about the 3-4 months. For 3 months I did that, and then all of January I actually went on a bit of a trip with my fiance at the time, and we were traveling up the east coast of Australia on a holiday, and we said, what if I took Twitch seriously? Like, I started a YouTube channel, did it proper, like not just a little bit, like proper scheduled times of the days and all that. And that's when it all kicked off and got really serious.
So before we talk about that, when you were streaming 3 months, it was just kind of when you felt like it at night, or just randomly?
No, it was mostly during the day when my wife was at work.
Okay.
Or I actually did fishing streams. I had a, like your phone holder you get in your car?
Yeah.
I just dumped that on the back of my boat, and then just, opened up the Twitch app, click start stream. People loved it. I actually had more viewers back then watching me fish than I did playing computer games.
Okay. And for context, and I'm not a big numbers guy, but I feel it gives context to give people the idea of your growth. When you were playing PC games in your 3 month stint, when you weren't all in per se, roughly how many people were watching, if you had to guess?
I'm pretty good with numbers. So between October and January, by the end of January, I had 150 followers, and I was sitting on about 3 to 5 viewers.
Okay.
Like, it was just a small group.
Okay. Do you remember when the first couple viewers came in, what that felt like? Or were you like...
I remember my first donation. And my first donation, I was like, whoa. Like, it's just a weird one. Like someone donated to me?
Okay, so...
And then, like,
yeah, go ahead.
When people sub you for the first time, you're like, wow, this is awesome. Like, people actually like what you do. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah, no doubt. So, okay, so you come back from the trip with your girlfriend, now wife, and you're like, hey, what if I take this serious? And so you decide to make a go of it. So when you get back from that trip, what happens next?
I Googled how to make a YouTube video.
Okay.
I YouTubed how to make a YouTube video, and I taught myself Adobe in about 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd stream. I started my schedule. I started streaming 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I never did 7, just 5 days a week. And after each day, I would study. I'd learn how to use Adobe. I'd make videos, and then I just started making guides. I found there was a little bit of a gap in guides in Escape from Tarkov, and I just started making them. And there was some that were already made from other people, but I'd never watched them. I just make a guide, and then if you get enough guides, people will slowly start coming to you for advice. And I built my channel up mostly on helping people. I'm a big community person and helping people naturally. Like, that's my inner core person, So for me, it comes naturally. Like, I'm always open to helping people out. And so the YouTube channel was a really good way to bring people in that wasn't on Twitch, because I'm sure you understand this, but being on Twitch is just one avenue for people to come and check out your stream. But if you are only on Twitch, that's the only place people can find you. When there's this whole world, particularly YouTube, everyone knows what YouTube is. and everyone searches YouTube videos all the time when like how to make a recipe or whatever, how to play Escape from Tarkov. It's hard, and then that's how they slowly find people and they build up followings.
And so your schedule was 3 to 5 days a week, and you made a point to say you didn't do 7 days a week. And I feel like that was for a reason. Why did you do that?
I just wanted to structure it initially. I spent time. I was in the military and I never got to see my girlfriend/wife at the time. And when I got back, I always said I want to spend time with her. And we're actually really good at the moment. We schedule very well now. Like tomorrow, I'm going probably to the zoo if the weather holds up. Otherwise, I'll be doing something else. But we schedule time now to always spend time with each other. And that was important after I got out of the military. Weekends were for my wife, girlfriend.
That's awesome. So you built that in, and then so you're making these YouTube videos, self-taught. And when did you first start to see traction on YouTube? Was there a video that you're like, I figured it out?
Yeah. So I think there was slowly people seeing my videos and saying, hey, I like that video. Thank you so much for making it. That was like a slow trend up over time. It was about the 17th of April, take a couple of days. Escape from Tarkov does wipes. For anyone who doesn't know Escape from Tarkov, it's a game that has it's almost seasonal based at the moment while they're doing patches. They're clearing the game and starting from scratch again. And I made a point that when the next wipe happened, I would be the first to get to the new content and make YouTube videos on it. And I was the first. I made all the new videos and everyone was like, oh, whoa, who's this guy who's already got all the tasks done, all the quests done? It's the second day and there's guides for him. And the best part about it was that 2 to 3 months before it was my learning period. I had to make a video and all that. So by the time it got to the point where, hey, this is important to get these guides out, I was good at it. Not good, but I'm learning.
Yeah.
You're always improving skills.
So it wasn't like a flash in the pan. It wasn't something you got lucky doing. You spent 3 months learning how to do it, honing your craft, but you saw when this opportunity came, let's take a shot at it and see what happens. So on April 17th, what happened on your YouTube channel?
I think I went from 400 subs to about 3,000 in about 3 days. and it's kind of been a consistent 200 to 300 subs a day since.
When that happened, do you remember waking up or checking your YouTube channel? Do you remember how you felt or what you were thinking when you saw that happen?
I was bouncing off the walls, dude. I was getting follows on Twitch when I wasn't even streaming. Like that, when that actually happens for the first time, it's like you light up. You're like, holy, this is it. And then I think there was a point a few months later where I started getting subs when I wasn't online, and that's when you're like, this is sick. Like, this is crazy, All
right, so I want to take a half step back because we're going to talk about how did you, so when you decided what game to play, had you always had an eye on Tarkov, or how did you first find Tarkov?
I don't remember exactly. I was playing PUBG at the time, and someone said, check out Escape from Tarkov. It looks like a really fun game. And I checked out some streams, and I wish I remember who it was. I checked out some streams and I spoke to them, because I think that's the most healthiest thing you can do these days is if you feel like buying a game, go check out a streamer playing that game that looks like he knows what he's talking about and ask him the questions. You're not going to get a more honest answer besides generally from the people that are actually playing it. And they said it's got great potential, but it's very expensive. And it was at $140 to get it in alpha. And I didn't buy it until it went into beta, and I paid the $40 for it. So I sat on it. I was actually watching it for probably a few months before. I wasn't actually watching the Twitch streams.
Yeah.
I was just like waiting for that game to go out of alpha to play it.
Got it. So you were streaming PUBG at the time, and then...
No, I wasn't streaming.
Oh, you weren't even...
I started on Tarkov.
Okay, so your first game ever you streamed outside of fishing was Tarkov.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so jump back past April 17th. Things are starting to roll. YouTube's going off. And I'll tell you from my perspective, I've been tuning into Tarkov for about 2 years, and all of a sudden my feeds I start to see on YouTube, I start to see these videos with this like I'd say bright teal headline on these thumbnails. And I'm like, and I started to see, I'm like, I don't know. And then I started to see them enough, I'm like, let me click one. And that's how I found you, because I could identify your videos just by the color of your titles, which is
Yeah.
And then I look to your channel, and the color of your titles is the same color of your logo. I'm like, like I didn't have to like put it all together. It's like it was kind of like a movie moment. Like, oh, that's the same guy. So anyway, so you're streaming. April 17th was definitely a landmark moment for you. And then since then, like what has been going on with your channel? Because it's really, I mean, it's exploded in all sense of, terms. I'll say it for you. It's exploded.
Yeah, so it's a bit mind-boggling. I don't know a lot of streamers that are blown up outside of primary games by like, Fortnite, Apex Legends, PUBG. There's guys in those games that blow up really quickly. I'd say like maybe there's a few people in Tarkov, but like Anton's very similar as me. That we're both he made a lot of YouTube videos as well. And, like since April, I think I hit Twitch partner in start of June. I've gone up 75 to nearly 77,000 followers. That's over 1,000 a week, like 1,500 a week on average. That's nuts. And it's a community. I focus on a community. Like everyone is based on helping people, and as soon as if you don't have the right attitude, I just get rid of you. I don't have time for that. I think community is a very important thing.
When you say you focus on community, how do you as a broadcaster foster that, and what do you focus on a like daily, I would say like task to task, not task, but on a practical.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. So for me, it's like I try and read every question in Twitch, which is quite difficult.
Especially with an audience of your size.
Perspective, I'm sitting around the 1,500 concurrent.
Yeah.
And there's a trick. There is a trick. Anyone at Pestily, or there's a question mark at the end of the message. That's what I look for the whole time. All right, where's the question marks? Where's the at Pestily? Read those ones, answer them. And it works quite well. That's my little trick and tactic. And I try and answer every single one. And it's tiring. And I get off my stream and I straight away get away from the computer to relax for a bit, de-stress my brain before I get into other stuff. The next one I do is I read every YouTube comment, which I'm sure is very time consuming. And then I've got like an open door policy on my Discord. Anyone can message me. There's no like you have to be friends. I've got my general chat I try and be active in. I promote always helping people. I've got a channel dedicated to just giving people free hey, I've got an extra X amount of items. Anyone want it? And then, just always trying to help people.
Well, for you, and that's one of the things that I was drawn to in your community. And if you hang out in your community, which I lurk a lot in your community, that's one of the things you pick up on. It's very friendly. A lot of people are helping. But for you, like that just doesn't happen on Twitch. Like it has to be a concerted effort. So for you internally, where does that come from you as a person wanting to have it be that way or focus on that?
I think I don't know the real core of it. I come from a big family. My dad's got 8 kids. Like I've got 4 sisters, 3 brothers, and we've always been always help each other. You help your family, and I've always liked helping people. Like joining the military, I didn't join the military to kill people. I joined them to help people, and like becoming a firefighter for a year after the military, also to help people. And that's always been my focus. To always try and. I don't know. I've just been that kind of person. If someone was like called me up and said, "Hey, I need a hand with this," I'd be like, "I'm on my way over." It's never. It's a natural trait of me. It's not something I force. If I had to force this, it'd be too exhausting. I wouldn't do it.
So it sounds like it's part of your DNA, and your stream and your community is just an extension of how you are. So yeah, go ahead.
I agree. I totally agree with, and I think that's what you should really focus on as a content creator as well. Be the person you are. If you're a really out there extravagant person, be an out there extravagant person. Don't try and be someone you're not. Like be the person you are and enjoy it.
And so you bring up, you come from a large family. What are your brothers and sisters? What do you tell them, or how much do they know about what you do on a day-to-day basis?
They don't understand. They don't understand. Like. I love it. Like, I had an instance recently. I gave my dad my car, so I'm trying to downsize because I'm going to be living in Europe. I'm trying to get rid of as much stuff. And I was like, Dad's car is shit, and I gave him my car. And unfortunately, 2 weeks later, he was in a car accident and rode the car off, right? And I've never asked anything from my community, right, my Twitch community. And I said, guys, if you have a spare $1, let's raise some money to buy my dad another car. In like 4 hours, we raised like $3,500, and I bought my dad another car. And I filmed it. Right, I filmed it because I said to him, if you do it, I'll film it, and you can see his reaction and everything. And I just made it to them. That wasn't to a public YouTube channel. It's just to people that did it. And my brother goes, "Those people in the computer did this for you, Dad." Like, it's just like the people in the computer. Like it was just they don't understand. I'm the seventh, by the way. I'm one of the younger ones. Okay. So, computer games still, like, my dad's like, are you happy, son? Still doing what you're doing, playing those computer games? Like, yes, Dad. He goes, good. Like, he's just happy for me doing something I enjoy. And I think, unfortunately, it's probably going to be like that until the older generation, move on, and the younger generation grows up with what today's entertainment is.
And the way things are now, just to pontificate on the future of how you see things going, like Twitch and YouTube and things like that, what do you see things being like, for yourself and other people, but in the gaming space over the next, couple years?
Without going too deep into it, I think indie games are going to be the trend. I think more and more. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
I think indie games are going to become the trend. I think you can't keep copy pasting big name titles and expecting people to keep buying it and be happy. And I think it's going to get to the point where those developers will either have to take a risk and try and make something new and that. Otherwise, games like Escape from Tarkov, which is like by no means the perfect game, or the perfect development team, but they're taking a risk and they're going with what they want to do. And I think that's gonna become a lot bigger in the gaming community, in the gaming world. And I think there's going to be a weird tipping point for content creators. Like, I think you and I are very lucky to be as successful as we are at this point, because every day there is thousands of new people starting up a stream on Twitch, and it's thousands and thousands of more people to compete with. I think Quisha said it best. At one point, everyone's going to have TTV in their name because everyone's going to be streaming. It's going to be that point where it's super accessible to stream these days. You just install a program, OBS, you put in a key, and you click start stream, and you've got your channel up on a website. Like, it's not rocket science to start. It takes work to build a community, to build and become a content creator and not just a streamer. But it's going to get to a point where nearly everyone can stream, and if they want to, they will. So it's interesting.
I agree with that, but I come of a background of two things. I think there's room for everyone to win, but also I think you hit the nail on the head. It's work. Like, you didn't blow up just because you hit stream on Twitch. You blew up because you studied, you did a lot of work, you made a ton of YouTube videos, you focus on building an engaging community. Like, that's not, and like you said, not to mention, and I'm glad you brought it up, but the energy it takes to respond to everyone, to read YouTube comments. Like, those are all things which, I'll say it for you. I think you're going to continue to be successful long term, because my opinion on you, unless you do something drastically dumb, like, your community's not just going to disappear because you care about them and they're not just a comment to you. But I wanted to circle back, and I don't want to. We talked about Tarkov, and you said companies taking risks. But for you, we've never talked about what do you think makes Tarkov special for you? What makes Tarkov stand out for you?
I think for me, it's easy because it's easy for me to love the game, because you click start raid, you go into a game, and it's nothing like the raid beforehand. You have no idea what could happen. And as long as they stick to that principle, it's going to be a successful game, because it's always going to be fun and inviting, and fun in the way that it's going to be random. You go into a raid, and hopefully there's a lot of people out there that's played Tarkov that's listening to this, but you could be going up against a 5-man squad that's fully geared, or you might run into like 3 guys running around with pistols. And so you have to be aware and alert for whatever's going to come your way that raid. And that kind of randomness just makes it fun. And the higher risk, high reward, all that kind of stuff, it just makes the game just good.
Well, and that's the thing you brought up, where when people come into your channel and say, hey, what is Tarkov? And how do you explain to someone? Because I think you nailed it on the head. Where you can't say, oh, Tarkov is like Call of Duty, because it's not. There's no other game like it. So, like, how do you, if you want to break Tarkov down to someone that has no idea what it is, that comes in your channel for the first time, do you have like kind of like a canned or somewhat canned response?
I do a little bit. I say it's an immersive first-person shooter with survival aspects. I don't like using the word realistic because, in my opinion, by no means is it realistic. But it's because it's a game, and if you take away, if you made a pure realistic game, I think probably Arma 3 is one of the closest. That's not fun to me. I don't know about if you played Arma 3, but it feels like work to me. When I was in the military, we used to use a simulator that was based off Arma 3. Used the Arma 3 engine. It feels like work playing that game. So it's a game and it's fun. It's immersive. You'll be scared. You'll be hyped. You'll have your heart pumping like crazy, and you'll be angry as all hell, all within half an hour. It's just like that. It's so like I would be amazed if there's like. Sorry, I'd be amazed if people haven't broken keyboards and monitors over this game. But at the same time, jumped and fist pumped the air like an hour later.
No,
it's just one of those games.
Yeah, I think if Nikita were ever to snip a natural advertisement for the game, I think they just clipped that 15-second thing you just said, because I think you did a great job explaining it. I want to talk to you about, as a content creator and a successful broadcaster on Twitch, what do you feel about, so do you have any concerns with your channel being tied directly to Tarkov, and how do you think about that in the future and on a daily basis?
I think I'm probably lucky in some ways because I've got this plan for Europe next year, and I'm very goal driven. So Europe's always been the plan. I'll be living in Europe for the whole of next year. I'm going to cut back to 4 days a week streaming, and it'll be Tarkov. The other 3 days, I'm going to go to every single country of Europe. We're going to buy a camper van, and I'm going to stream from the camper van. All right, the logistics are going to be pretty nuts, and we're going to do whatever we have to do it. But the advantages of it is we're actually going to start a second YouTube channel and vlog. I'll try and meet people in different countries from my community, have catch-ups in every country, meet at a pub or whatever, and just really try and explore just showing me as a person more than just an Escape from Tarkov streamer. Mm-hmm. And then if that other YouTube channel is successful, when I get back to Australia, I really want to get into actual fishing streams, set it up properly. I think Twitch is really diverse. You can do really, as long as it's not offensive, you could do anything on Twitch these days. So I'd love to get into, I'm an outdoors kind of person. And I don't want to be in front of a computer 7 days a week for the rest of my life. I want to be outdoors. I want to be fishing, full driving. I'll do anything, man. If you've got a cool idea, I'll do it with you, you know, like. And I think, but you're right. If I jump on a different game, you know, like I said before, I'm on like maybe 1,500 concurrent-ish, and then I might jump down to 600, or if no one wants to watch the game, 400. You know, mm-hmm. But it's just the nature of Twitch. Not many people can do it. I think I've name dropped Sequoia a few times, but he's the kind of person that can get away with full variety. But there's not many people these days that can do full variety. And that's coming down to the fact that there's just so many good people, good content creators focusing on a game. Why, if I went to play a game, let's say Apex Legends, why would you watch me over someone like Dizzy who gets 30 kills a game? You know, he's an amazing person at that game. Why would you watch me? And I'll still have the core community people there. But you're right. It's one of those things, and it's probably at one point, you say Escape from Tarkov dies overnight, I'll have to focus on a new game, which is somewhat exciting at the same point as well.
Well, and it sounds like you have not a contingency plan, but you know, with the IRL stuff coming up in Europe, it sounds like you're gonna have like a diverse menu for people to choose from. And it may sound, you know, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'll put it here on film on, you know, in 2019, if you're going to be as successful in IRL as you know you are in Tarkov, because I just imagine for you it's taking the same principles and the same work and experience you've already experienced in building up the Tarkov portion of your community and doing the same thing in IRL. So when you're, and I find it fascinating. So your wife, like, how did you propose this idea to your wife about the IRL stuff, and is she going to be involved in the IRL stuff?
So Europe was always a plan. So that was never like, we were going to do it with $20,000, and we were going to just like pretty much backpack around Europe, climb mountains, and see every country for a year. Now that it's changed, because we've actually got a little bit more finances behind us because of the stream, I'm going to 100% invest all this back in. That's the thing. It's like, let's just put it all back in and just enjoy life while we can. Yeah, we're running a risk, but at the same time, who cares? Like
you can get a job, or if it don't work out, you get a job or something.
Yeah, I'm a hard worker. I know that. So I know I could pick up a job working, laboring if I had to, but I don't want to. So Europe was always a plan, but like, let's put it this way. My wife had to quit her job about 2 months ago because we can't get Europe planned without her quitting now. It's just too much. We say we're very good with money. We don't do a lot of things, but when we do, we make sure we, have fun, like the zoo tomorrow. But she's quit her job and she's planning Europe for the rest of the year. She helps with some of the stream stuff as well, like, whatever's needed to be done to help out. But overall, like, we have to plan Europe, and when Europe comes along, so she's loving it because she's like me, likes just living life. There's, I feel like you're the same kind of person. I don't know a lot about you, but you seem like you're very, like, why waste time not living?
Yeah, and so no, and I think that's the irony of the things, in keeping it focused. I need the irony of the whole thing is that, you build this community on playing computer games, and that's a part of you, but the other part of you is like almost it's like inverse, because just being stereotypical, you think of someone that plays computer games all the time as someone that doesn't go out and do all those things. But it's like, for you, it's like the perfect meld. So when you're planning this Europe trip, like, is it going to be, I don't want to call it military operation, but is it going to be like, hey, like 7 days here, 3 days here, like that kind of thing? Like, is it going to be that detailed?
The first few months, we're going to be in Germany or Netherlands, I think, at the moment. And that's going to be the final planning phase where we're setting up the van and all that, which I'll just stream full time, like 6-7 days a week while I'm there. And then once we get in the van, we'll cut back and do other stuff. But you can't plan that far ahead on something so dynamic. Like, we could break down, or I could break a leg and I can't do anything for 2 months. Like, so there's no way we're going to book stuff more than, say, a month or two in advance. I don't think we'd be booking anything over a month in advance, but we'd have an outline of where we expect to be at each point in time. I think that's probably the best we can do.
And you said you are going to stream Tarkov while you're on the road. How are you going to do that?
Yep. I've looked at really interesting ideas for computers that can fit in, like, pretty much small spaces. And you can get a pretty good computer that can do that. The internet's the big deal. A lot of people are saying that the mobile internet's sometimes good, sometimes bad, depending on the country. So we're actually going to be contacting a lot of, like, caravan parks, we call them in Australia, but somewhere we can park the van, and we can connect up to their Wi-Fi. And we're actually going to contact them before we get there and then say, hey, this is what I do for a living. We're happy to, promote your caravan park as us staying there, and we enjoy it if we do or not. And then if we just need to make sure that your internet's good enough to stream, which generally most places that have a landline internet connection,
cool,
should be good enough to stream.
I'm excited. So do you have like a rough start date for when that's gonna Pestyly's Euro trip's gonna happen?
Europe in mid-January, but we will kick off the trip probably end of March.
Okay. So you take some time there to kind of unplug, enjoy yourself. Yeah, awesome. All right, so I want to kind of circle back around to Twitch and YouTube with everything. What's one of the things in this, in your growth period in your time that's been really surprising to you, that either something went really well or something went really poorly that you learned from, over doing this? Because it's a really unique field of work, and there's no one way to do it. It is.
I think that you get to a point in time where you start feeling like you're getting a grasp on it. I never thought I was a creative person, and I don't know if you've been the same, but like, I never really thought of myself as a creative person. But then after you practice something enough, ideas just start to, I'll be laying in bed at night. Actually, to be honest, the place I get the most amount of ideas is in the shower. I'll be in the shower and I'll just be like, just staring up and I'm like, oh my God. And I'll be like, quick, dry off. And I'll be like writing down the idea or whatever it is. I I think it's like creativity is a skill that we should hone and build up, and then after time we get better at. And that's why we are content creators. We're not just gamers.
What's an example of one of your shower ideas that's like that you implemented in your stream or in a YouTube video that was just
I think the might have been Order 66 or The Purge. It was like a very early day thing. If you guys know Order 66, it's from Execute Order 66, like from Star Wars, where the Jedi get turned on by the clone army. And I actually made a command that if you donated $6.66, or like the oh my god, I can't remember his name. They're going to kill me if I say this wrong. So anyway, the command comes across the stream. And
good save.
And I have to kill myself. I have to kill myself in raid, just like that. I always carried a grenade with me, and it was only $6.66. But this was the great thing at that time, is that was the point where I used that to save up enough money to buy a good computer. I actually started on a really computer. Well, not middle tier.
Yeah.
You know, and I saved up all the money I needed from doing those things. And that was a shower. I fairly confident that was a shower moment where I was just like, oh my God, this is a really cool idea. What if I blow myself up? People donate to blow myself up, and, you know, and it's something like that. Like random ones, you know, like, I don't know if it was in the shower. I thought of it. I was like, what if I got 1 to 40 in a single stream? You know, I've done it a few times now, but like that, I have those kind of moments like, is it possible? And I'd sit there and I'd look at how much XP I needed. I'd look at how many tasks I needed to do and how many hours it would take me to do all those tasks and work it out. Can I stay awake for 48 hours straight? Yes, because I've done the military side of things. All right, how do I focus for that long? And stuff like that.
That's awesome. I've never, but see, it sounds like for you that's so like authentic and organic to you, where it's like you didn't watch someone else and get Order 66, or you've never seen anyone else go 1 to 40 in Tarkov in a single stream. You know, so I feel like that. You know, I've never seen the Orders 66 thing, but I like, as someone who watches Tarkov, like. You could be decked out in Ford armor and it comes through and you do it.
Yeah, well, see, at $6.66, like back then I had like 30 viewers. And so people would just like, I don't know, it might be one every 3 or 4 raids I get it, which was really frustrating. It's still on my channel as a joke at $99. And every now and then someone does it as a joke. Like, and I'm really grateful that someone wants to donate that much money. After they donate, I say thank you, and I go, "Are you serious?" So, oh, sorry, boss, you're not meant to swear on this.
No, it's fine.
Are you serious? Like, do you really want me to do this? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, all right, you know, and stuff like that, man. Like, it's there. Like, that's why it's not $100, because you actually get $100 donate from time to time.
Yeah.
And I don't want someone to accidentally do it. That's why it's at 99. So someone donates 99, they're doing it for a reason. And I was like, are you sure?
So as we wrap things up here, what have you've had a really, a lot of your experience, sounds like, from firefighting to military to streaming, you've all been successful at, but all seem to have like a common thread of you like pushing yourself and trying new things. What do you, and even with the Europe stuff, it sounds like it's almost like in life we have patterns. It's like now you're pushing something else. In terms of, if you say, hey, we come back a year from now after your European stream, what do you think the next thing is for you?
Kids, maybe.
Okay.
Like, I want to have kids. My wife and I said we don't want to do it while we're in Europe. So, well, we don't have kids while we're in Europe. So when we get back, that's probably when we'll start looking at that. But I kind of like the idea that my house is going to be packed up when we're in Europe. And so when we get back, we don't have to stay in the one spot. So we might travel a little bit in Australia when we get back. It's, mate, like if you asked me 2 years ago where I saw myself in 12 months or 2 years, I would say no idea. Like, and I think we can plan as much as we want, but you got to be very fluid this day. Like, you know, you probably don't even know what's going to be going on in 6 months. Like, it's crazy. It really is crazy. I would never expected my stream to be this big 12 months ago.
Yeah, I mean,
not a chance.
Yeah, no, and I think you just take it in stride, and I think you've done a great job in that. Do you see yourself always being a content creator? You know, in some form or fashion?
I think I see myself always working for myself from now on. I think because I know I'm a hard worker, I'd much rather mow lawns for $20 a lawn or something than go and work for someone else now. I think once you've got yourself your own, what's it like? Not routine, but self-discipline. That's the one I was after. Once you've got the self-discipline to work for yourself, I think you can work really hard and you can be successful in whatever you do. So I'd love to. Actually, a really good point. Someone asked me the other day if I was to just all of a sudden no longer ever have to worry about money for the rest of my life, would I still stream? And I said yes. I'd still probably do 3 or 4 days a week. Maybe not as long, and as I said, maybe not as many days a week. But I still like talking to everyone. It's a really fun thing to do. And the stories, I've built friendships and it's a community. I've built lots of friendships. I had someone pop in, I haven't seen in say 3 months, like a guy today. And, I met him, he's a jeweler in Adelaide and he got me my engagement ring, and he's a really cool, nice guy. And you know what I mean? Like you meet people and you just, it's just a nice thing.
So
I'd love to be a content creator forever. Like it's cool.
So you bought your engagement ring from a member of your Twitch community who they're professional. Yep. How does that happen?
I got engaged just after I started streaming, but people knew the wedding was coming up and I still hadn't got my wedding ring and engagement ring and that. And one of the guys was like, "Oh, I'm a jeweler in Adelaide. You should pop in." I'm like, "All right, man." And I went and caught up with him and he's a really nice guy and he's just like, "Whatever you want, just I'll give you the trade price." I'm like, "Sweet, thank you so much." So and he's a really nice guy.
And this is what I wanted to kind of wrap things up on. But you've had a chance to meet face to face with some members of your community.
Yep. And also at PAX last year, I was only on maybe 15,000 followers then. But the amount of people that I met at PAX, and I was at Intel Extreme Masters, which is an esports event in Sydney earlier this year. And the amount of people that would just see me go, "Hey, that's Pestily." I'm like, "Hey," it's surreal, man. It's surreal.
What was that like for you? Do you remember the first time someone came up to you and were like, "Hey, Pestily"?
At an event, it was really nice. There's people that would just yell at me from across the room, and I'm like, "This is sick." But actually, the first time in public, I was just walking through the city. A security guard pulled me up, and he was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "No." He goes, "Excuse me," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" He wants to search my wife's handbag or something. He goes, "You're Pestily." I'm like, "Hey mate," and he's like, "I'm one of your subs." I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you." Because I won't hold you up. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going? Who are you?" It's interesting, man.
Yeah, and I think it's cool because it's it puts it puts the bow on the community, right? It's not when you talk about your brother saying, "Hey, the people in the computer," they're not it's not really people in the computer. It's there's real people, and I think that's the cool thing about what you're doing is that you're focused on a community, and that's what I'm always drawn to is that with streaming and when I watch people, it's at some point it doesn't have to be, but I enjoy when it's about more than the game, right? Because it's never really, for me, it's never just about the game. And it sounds like the same thing for you. It's about, having fun, making people's day better, meeting people and kind of doing that from, from the get. But, and that's why I'm excited about what you do. I feel like you bring a unique spin to things on Twitch. I lurk in your channel a lot because you're on at the nighttime for me. And it's just an enjoyable experience. I'll never forget when I popped in and you were doing the Run Pestily Labs thing. And which, long story short, people always ask you to run labs, right?
Yeah, all the time.
So yeah.
Pestily, please run labs.
And you just have fun. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you really touched the point there. And it probably was a little bit surprising for me. Because I come from such a military background and stuff like that, I think there's a lot of people drawn to my channel that are ex-military as well. And the amount of people that have messaged me and said, "Hey, you don't realize how much you've just helped me de-stress from whatever," or "I've been going through tough times and being a part of your community has really helped." And I think that's one of the it's really, really poorly presented in the media that we just get seen as gamers making money, evil, playing violent games. But I can tell you for now, there's a multiple amount of people. Like, there's a lot of people in my community that I've spoken to personally that have, gone through tough times and have said thank you to me, and it's really touching, and I'm really humbled by it. And it's alarming how, and I'm a bit all over the shop when I talk, is how my brain works. But I think when you get a bit older, it's harder to make friends, and it's harder to just talk to people. There's no faces in Twitch. You can't, you see my face, but you can't see everyone else's. And being able to just say, hey, what's going on? And just have someone to talk to. And, I try and say hello to everyone that says hello to me, and just feeling a part of that community. And it gives people that are a little bit older as well a place to just feel comfortable where they can just relax with friends. And I think that's important.
Yeah, no, I don't think, I think you're on the dot, and it even goes full circle to when you talked about how you joined the lawn ball. It's not like when you get to a certain point in your life, and whether you're listening to this in your late teens or early 20s, it changes where you're not always running around with your buddies, or people move off and do different things. And I think you hit on an interesting point where Twitch provides an arena for people with similar interests to get together. But I will say this, not every Twitch channel has the ability to do what you do, make someone feel comfortable. That's it's just really unique. And if you've never stopped to see one of Pestyly's streams, you got to check it out, because you're in there and you're like, this isn't normally, not to cast a broad net on Twitch, but it's normally not like that when you pop into random streams and things like that. And I think, for you, when you get those messages, how do you process them?
It's difficult. It is. I'm not a trained, psychiatrist or therapist or anything like that. I've lost people close to me to suicide and stuff like that, and so I understand the feelings that people go through. At least on the loss side, not the self-harm side. But it's difficult, mate. But you try and be comforting and say, if you need to talk to someone, you could talk to me, but you really should talk to someone close to you, friends, family, and there's no one else, call a helpline. It's one of those difficult things. I wish I could just help everyone. I can't. I know I can't. I know my limits.
Mm-hmm. And so, but for you, you're aware that people watch and you've helped a lot of people. Have you ever taken a step back to think about that? When you think about all the DMs that you've gotten, that you help people, is that, because it's not why you got into it. You just kind of got into it for fun, and then it's grown into this. Do you think your wife and does everyone know the brevity, the seriousness of that you're able to help people in that regard?
My wife understands, but not the general help people. Even some people in the community would, because obviously they're the ones affected. But yeah. My dad would never understand that. Mm-hmm. It might be an older generation thing. And that's nothing against my dad. My dad's a very loving and caring and giving person, but he wouldn't think that you could really help someone from playing a computer game. Mm-hmm. And the media would never promote that at all, the mainstream media.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the special things that, you're able to do when you build a community like you. If someone were to ask you, say, hey, Pestily, what's the best way to foster a positive and helping community? There's little Pestily running around or listening to this 20 years from now, and they want to do what you did from the community
be genuine. Side. Be genuine. If you want to help people, just help people. I had in my Twitch title the Pestily Help Desk for probably a month, and bring your Tarkov problems. And it just starts a conversation, and people would talk to me and say, I can't do this or whatever. And then they actually realize that you're a caring person and yet you do care. And then you help people. Or if someone, I don't want to go back to having a small viewership. I really like how big I've grown. But there is times where it's I miss those days where I had 30 viewers and I would speak to the one or the 10 people that are constantly talking and learn everything about them. Unfortunately, there's a point in your growth where you just can't do that anymore. You try and remember as much as you can, but we're all human. And so you miss out on those opportunities where you could actually like build those really good bonds. But that's kind of the good thing, that if you do build a channel up over time, you'll have those people that you'll be close to, and they'll become your moderators 99% of the time.
All right. So as we wrap things up here, can you tell people where they could find you, your schedule, what they can expect on YouTube? So basically people that have listened to the interview and they're like, yo, Pestyly's really cool, I want to follow him and get into what he's got going on.
I'm Pestily on everything. I don't think there's many other Pestilys out there. I created the word as far as I know.
Yeah, real quick.
Pestily.
What's the story behind the name? Because your logo looks like a plague
doctor.
Pestilence. Okay.
Yeah, it comes from Pestilence, but I used to be called Pest from all my friends and family, and my girlfriend at the time when I was like 16 used to call me Pestil, and I didn't like that. So I put a Y on the end and made it Pestily, and it just stuck. So that's the short of it. It's a little bit longer, but that's the short of it. But yeah, like my YouTube, Twitch are the same, and then Twitter's the same, and I think Instagram's This Is Pestily, because I can't get the name Pestily at the moment.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
But yeah, like anyone ever wants to pop in, feel free. Always happy for a chat. And same with Discord. Pestily is there too.
Yeah. Well, Pestily, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I think your story's really engaging. I think a lot of people got to know you in a different light here, myself included. And I'm just fired up to continue to watch your success and lurk and hopefully be in there in one of those days when someone drops you a 99 and you have to pull the pin in a fully decked out fort raid.
Thanks so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
No,
you taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. And if you guys want to follow Pestily, all the links will be in the description below and underneath the iTunes description. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And thanks for being here, Pestily.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks, everyone.